Alright guys, welcome back to another video. Daily Broncos here. Today we're going to be previewing the Jets game, which of course is going to be Sunday morning. Now keep in mind it's in London, so it's going to be a bright and early day, about 7:30 over on Mountain Time, just to give you guys a heads up if you didn't know. But we've got to talk about the injury report before we even get into the preview. So let's do it. So in terms of Ben Powers, he is going to be out for at least 2 months on injured reserve, which is disappointing because he, of course, is the starting left guard right now. The strength of the Broncos for years now has been their offensive line. So to see Bowers go down is concerning, especially because Sean Payton doesn't even know who's going to get the start on Sunday. So if you go and you look at the depth chart, you see that Alex Palzweski is listed as the backup. He's not expected to actually start this Sunday. It's looking like the Broncos are going to go with Matt Peart, just because Polzweski is more so going to be a guy that you see in jumbo formations, which the Broncos do like to run a lot of because, bigger bodies means, of course, they can be aggressive and run the ball, which is what they want to do. So that's what I would expect. It's not official. I'm not saying to take my word for it, but that's what I would look out for because the depth chart is a little bit misleading. It's unofficial for a reason. Jarrett Stidham did not fly with the team to London after the win against the Eagles, but he actually did practice today. His wife went into labor, which is why he ended up going back to Denver after the game. So shout out to him and to his wife, Kennedy, for expecting their third child. Stidham was awesome in the preseason, so to see him just be there in case Bo Nix gets hurt or is struggling is definitely a big-time weapon. He's probably the best backup quarterback in football, if I'm being completely honest. Like, Jarrett Stidham's really good. He honestly should be starting for someone. The last thing that I want to address is going to be the Jets being 0-5. Literally, the first thing I wrote down in my notes coming into this video was the Broncos sure as hell better not get off to a slow start because it's the 0-5 Jets. Sean Payton, he addressed this directly and said, hey, look, everyone is approaching this game like it's any other one, and they sure as hell better because eventually the Jets are going to win a game. I don't think they're going to go 0-16. You just don't want it to happen to the Broncos when they just beat the Eagles. They had their biggest win of the Sean Payton era. It would just be an absolute disaster to have the best win and then the worst win. I don't expect the Broncos to lose this game under any circumstances, but I want them to actually go out there and to blow the brakes off of this Jets team. And I think they're set up to do so, and here's why. So now we're going to get into the actual preview. So the Jets are not good at very many things. They're fourth in terms of penalties. They've lost the most fumbles. They're third in blown coverages. They have the fifth most tackles. And when you think about those statistics, that's literally perfect for the Broncos because this is a team that they've really struggled to push the ball down the field. They've struggled to be explosive, especially in the first quarter. I mean, guys, the Broncos are 31st in EPA in the first quarter of games this season. Now, Bo Nix has been an above-average quarterback, but he hasn't thrown the ball deep down the field. That's been the thing. 22nd in points in the first quarter, averaging about 4 a game. 21st in offensive grade. So I want to see the Broncos go out right away and be aggressive. Let's throw the ball down the field. If it's 3rd and 1, even if it's in Bronco territory, let's fake the run and throw it down to Troy Franklin or throw it down to Marvin Mims or Courtland Sutton. Push the ball down the field. Of course, you want to get the ball on the ground first and then go off of that. And I think this is the game where we start to look at the Broncos and say, this team is dangerous. And I get it's the Jets. Like, nobody's going to really care if they beat the Jets. But it's more so about how they beat the Jets. Like, if this team can put up 500 yards of offense, if Bo Nix can look like an MVP, if the defense can continue to be lights out, Sean Payton calls a good game, Troy Franklin all of a sudden has been arguably the second most important weapon in terms of the skill positions. Like, more important than Dobbins, more important than Harvey, more important than Ingram, and of course, no one's more important than Courtland Sutton. But Troy Franklin, his target share seems to increase by the week. And I know Mims is a stud. Pat Bryant, we're trying to get him going, but I legitimately think Troy Franklin is the second most important skill position player right now, just because of his speed and his size. And I think this is the game where he breaks out. I think Troy Franklin goes absolutely off. Now, the reason I say that is because one of my friends who is in a money fantasy league, I don't play fantasy, but he came to me and he said, hey, look, I need a receiver. He's like, because he knows that I cover football for a living. He's like, who should I get? And I'm like, Troy Franklin. I was like, I don't know why, but I do know why, because his target share has been pretty high and he's got a lot of potential. And I think Bo Nix is going to start to play much, much better. And he certainly did in that fourth quarter against the Eagles. I just feel like Troy Franklin has an awesome, awesome game. And if he does, go back to this video and show some love because that would be really cool. And because the Jets are horrible in the secondary and they give up a lot of blown coverages and mistakes, I think Franklin honestly gets by the defense and has a big time touchdown catch. In terms of the defense for the Broncos, I expect them to be lights out as always. I mean, they dominated the Eagles, there's no question about it. But this game will ultimately be determined about the Broncos scoring early and often because if the Jets are in a close game, they're very dangerous. You can say what you want about Justin Fields. You guys might like him, you might love him, you might hate him. Fields, when his team is in a game or even when he has a lead, they are very dangerous because Justin Fields, to me, and a lot of people are going to disagree with this, which I respect, but I think Fields is the best rushing quarterback the NFL's ever seen. I know Lamar, Michael Vick probably come into your mind, but I think Justin Fields, in terms of just speed and power and elusiveness, like if I need one quarterback to run the ball, it's Justin Fields. And if you're in a close game or if you're winning, if you're the Jets, well, you're going to be able to run the ball. And that's when Justin Fields is unstoppable. We've seen him have games of, I don't know how many games he's had of 200 rushing yards, but I've seen him go for like 180 with my own eyes live. I mean, Justin Fields is so freaking dynamic. But when the Jets are behind, which they have been obviously this entire season, they're very, very bad. You know, Justin Fields is not a good passer. He struggles to read a defense, especially if you're able to pressure him, which the Broncos are going to have no issue doing. If the Broncos can just score 10 points, not asking for much, they're averaging 4 in the first quarter, but they can put up 10 points in this first quarter and just kind of go from there. They're going to absolutely dominate the Jets in this game. And if they don't, like if the Broncos kick 3 points or they don't score in the first quarter, that's going to be a spot they just don't want to be in. You don't want this to be a close game. I get a win's a win, but the Broncos, they need to have that big time win because every game they've played in this season, they've either lost by a game-winning kick or they've barely mustered their way out of it. Like the Titans, they barely got out of that game. Bo Nix was awful. The Eagles game, they were down 14 points in the fourth quarter and they came back, went for 2 and won it, which was awesome. But hey, look, like I need to see a complete game from all three levels: the offense, the defense, and the special teams. The offense has been the problem for Denver this season. Is it just hasn't done enough, and it's disappointing because there's really not a lack of anything on the offense. Like I'd get if the offense didn't have any talent, but the offense has a plethora of players that I really like. I already named them all in this video, so I'm not gonna repeat it. But it just comes down to Bo Nix. You know, Bo Nix has to make plays, and I genuinely think that in this game he does exactly that. I think the Broncos score 30 points in this game. Now, if you go and you look at their schedule, you know, they haven't scored 30 points in a game this season. Even against the Bengals, they scored 28. But that just wasn't a competitive game from start to finish. I mean, technically the Bengals did come down the opening drive and score 3 points. But, after that, it was just an absolute domination. I think the Broncos go off in this game. I don't think Bo Nix is going to throw for 326 yards. He'll probably throw for like 270, 280. But I think the run game is going to do well, and I think the Jets are going to turn the ball over a ton. This is probably going to be like a 30-10 game, and I hope I'm right because that would be freaking music to my ears as a Bronco fan. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts in the video. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I read every comment, so I'll definitely try to get back to as many of you as possible. Thank you so much for showing support, man. I created this channel, I think it was like February of 2024, I want to say. And we've finally, after like a year and a half, started to see some success. So, the wait was well worth it, man. I love the Broncos. I love everything about this team. And, man, I'm just happy to be here.